Alright guys, so I want to talk about vitamin K2. If you don't see the screen too much, it's okay, just listen to my big mouth. This is more to keep me on track so I don't forget anything. Hopefully though you do see it. So we're going to talk about vitamin K. It's called vitamin K because a German guy found out that it played an important role in coagulation. So in Germany the K is how you spell coagulation. So it was named vitamin K. But then it was further research and they found out that it's not just one vitamin. There's actually, within vitamin K, they found out there's vitamin K1 and there's vitamin K2. And vitamin K2 actually is further subdivided into some subgroups. The important thing that I want you to know is that K1 and K2 are like completely different. I don't even know why they're called the same thing. It gives the impression maybe that there's a similarity. But K1, okay, has to do with clotting factors. It has to do with coagulation, all right? While K2 has a completely different job. One of the main roles that I'd like to really concentrate on is that K2 is needed to direct calcium into the appropriate areas, teeth, bones, etc. So K2, think of it as a signaler to tell calcium to go in good places. Because if calcium is not going into the bones, if we're ingesting calcium and K2 is not signaling where to go, it could go to the arteries in your heart. It can calcify a lot of vessels. So in a way, a K2 deficiency may lead to increased calcification of your arteries and could be one of the factors of artherosclerosis. Okay, so it's kind of important. Where are we getting our sources of K1 and K2? First of all, vitamin K is a fat-soluble vitamin. Any of the fat-soluble vitamins that we have must be ingested at the same time with a fat so that it's properly absorbed. So if you're consuming at a meal a fat-soluble vitamin without fat in it, then consider it not absorbed. So let's look at where we get these sources. Let's start with vitamin K1, the one that plays a role in our coagulation. We can get K1 in plant sources, and we can also get K1 in animal sources. All right. When we're looking at K2, all right, we get K2 and K1 from animal sources. Okay. So we see that on the K2 side, within the diet, okay, plants can't directly, if you're eating plants, you can't directly get K2 from those sources. The only plant-based K2 that you could ingest is, I don't know if it's pronounced natto or natto, but it's basically a soybean that is fermented. Therefore, the bacteria within this fermentation process converts the K1 to K2. So technically, if you are a plant-based / vegan, okay, it is extremely important that you do not become deficient in K2. Since you cannot get K2 from animal sources, then it's important that I suggest you supplement with a K2 supplement, okay, which is usually actually from a soybean. So most of the supplements are not K2 extracted from animal sources, so that's good for the plant-based people. It's important to also realize that K1, if a vegetarian or a vegan can ingest K1, there is an amount of K2 that is converted, even from plants, by the bacteria in your gut. Okay, so you're not completely K2 deficient. However, there is the added benefit of eating animal sources of K2 because it's already in the form of K2. So you're getting the K1, which is also getting converted into K2 in the gut. and you're also directly through other animal sources getting K2. It's extremely important, like I said, because it is directing calcium and where calcium should go. Now, the doctors will often prescribe calcium carbonate as a supplementation if they're worried that your bones are getting brittle, osteoporosis, and whatnot. The problem is, again, doctors are not nutritionists. They're not really trained in that aspect of your health, okay? They're pretty much just as educated as the layman, unless they go out of their way to go into the research and find the truth. And if they do that, then they'd never be giving calcium carbonate, because they'd realize that calcium carbonate will go wherever the heck it wants to go, including the arteries of your heart. So you want K2. If you have weak bones, you have to supplement vitamin K2, which will direct the calcium that you are consuming into the right location, which is your bones and not your arteries. Okay? There's even some research indicating that if you are already calcified, that adding K2 to your diet, supplementing higher levels of K2, can literally actually clear out calcium. So that is a very interesting thing that I'm sure more research will go into it. All right. So I have a few concerns here. The first concern is that if we are having a low fat and now a higher plant-based diet, okay, where the low fat part is going to be very bad for fat soluble vitamins, especially if we're trying to get the benefits of K2, right? It's going to be poorly absorbed. A higher and higher plant-based diet requires more and more of the K1 to either be supplemented by the fermented soybean, or you better make sure that your gut bacteria is the proper one. Unfortunately, a high carbohydrate diet often takes bacteria that love sugar, and you might not necessarily have the proper bacteria to convert K1 to K2. It's another reason why the hype of plant-based diet, okay, more plant-based. Well, you know what? It's hype. We are sick because we are not animal-based, okay? We need to be more animal-based because the bioavailability of the fat-soluble vitamins, especially vitamin K, are superior. We have to understand that carbohydrates are non-essential. That means we don't need it. Unfortunately, fruits and vegetables are carbs only. They are non-essential. In fact, antioxidants that are in fruits are non-essential because we have glutathione. We have our own antioxidant pathway. It makes a lot more sense to remove those seed oils that are oxidizing the shit out of your body and just allow your natural antioxidant pathway to do its job. There's no point in grabbing a few little colorful antioxidants attached to a lot of fructose. Fructose is not healthy, guys. Fruits are full of fructose. Fructose is a pretty useless sugar because it's very limited and can only go to your liver. And when your liver's full, the fructose ain't going to go into your muscle glycogen. All right, it's going to go into fatty liver. All right, so that's my concern. This trend towards plant-based, this demonization of animal sources of food. Hence, okay, we are going down on our meat consumption. We are still talking about cholesterol and saturated fat, even though there's zero evidence of it ever causing a problem. Therefore, by going down on our meats, the eggs, steak, cheese, okay, are sources of K2 that if you're starting to buy into the crap, fake shit science that animal, especially steak, for example, gives you arse cancer, well, you know what? It's not true. There's no way that they should ever be making these stupid claims based on studies that are strictly observational, okay? If you want to start making these kind of claims, do your job and start doing your randomized controlled studies, because we cannot prove causation with observational studies that are basically questionnaires, okay? So now we look at the carbohydrates, right? We look at the low carb, high fat diet and we say, well, guys, there's no studies saying it's safe. Yeah, there's thousands of studies. There's about 57 low carb studies specifically on the aspect of how it relates to cardiac risk factors, to cholesterol, to your lipid profiles, to insulin resistance, and everything. The studies are out there. Every time they do a low carb, high fat ketogenic study, it does amazingly well. 57 studies of them do well, and it's always way superior to the low fat, high carbs. So that aside, we could do a whole video on how flawed nutritional science is. What else? We're worrying about the food quality. The K2 in animal sources are probably a lot lower than they should be, because the animals are not eating their normal diet. There's a lot of grain being fed, increasing omega-6. The animals are possibly a little bit less nutritious. And also the thing is that a lot of the stuff, I mean, they're saying meat, cheese, and eggs, yet you look at meat, cheese, and eggs and you never see vitamin K contents because they're not even measuring it. And that's an issue also. So it's not being measured. Let's worry about the food quality. Decreasing in meat because of the cancer scares is crap. Guys, meat's really expensive and it's not as lucrative as the grains, the dirt cheap corn that you can make high fructose corn syrup. I mean, you look at corns in everything from chips to cereals to cornflakes, whatever. They're putting corn in everything. Basically, the middle section of your grocery store is just a big mixture of the same ingredients with some more chemicals to make them taste different, right? So, you know, let's just keep that in mind. And that's pretty much it, I think, for